Yo guys, what's going on? It's you and MED, and I'm coming at you with another mock draft. This is going to be a post-free agency mock draft. Obviously, we've just had the one of the main free agency periods in the NFL. So we'll go through who I think other teams should then draft and see what positions they've addressed in free agency and what positions still need to be addressed during the NFL drafts. This one is without trades, so yeah, we'll see where and who I pick, to be honest, and I'll explain my reasoning. So number one overall, Trevor Lawrence. Some people say Zach Wilson is a possibility. I don't think it is. I've seen the Jags. I support the Jags. I may refer to them as we at some points. But I've seen we've used most of our Zoom meetings with Zach Wilson already. So maybe we like his sort of leadership style or something. I don't know. But, it's not... I think it's pretty much set in... It's as close to set in stone as you get. They've got Trevor Lawrence without the E set in stone pretty much. That's pretty much where we're going to be. He's best prospect in the draft, number one prospect, best prospect since like Andrew Luck. I think it's a no-brainer to take him. Zach Wilson could be good because of his Mahomes likability, but Trevor Lawrence is basically stone dead. Pretty much going to be decent. Plus, you got the new head coach Urban Meyer, and I don't think Urban Meyer's coming in unless he had that number one overall pick and Trevor Lawrence in the draft. So, I think it's a pretty stone dead explanation there. Now we get into the actual draft. Zach Wilson at 2, stone dead number 2. Pretty easy to take. Jets need pretty much every position. I know they addressed wide receiver in free agency, but they still need a hell of a lot. Zach Wilson has got, like I said, that sort of Mahomes in him. He's got that improvisation. Has the ability to take off if he needs to. So yeah, I guess that's sort of that. And now you go to the Miami Dolphins, who obviously picked up Will Fuller in free agency. So you could say that they don't need another wide receiver, but I think for the future you've got to take a wide receiver here at Ja'Marr Chase. They might trade back in the draft, but as I said, I'm not doing trade backs here. But yeah, you did just not draft Will Fuller, but you did just get Will Fuller. But I think you take Ja'Marr Chase, best receiver in the class, get him back together with Tua. Just sort of see how that... Wait, not back together with Tua. Why did I think I picked Devontae Smith for a second? Ignore what I just said. Fuck's sake. But yeah, ignore completely what I said. Ja'Marr Chase at 3. Number one receiver on a lot of boards. Very talented. Easy separator. You can... the top 3 receivers, pretty much 1A, 1B, 1C. So I'm going to just leave that there. It's pretty much a self-explanatory pick, just like Trevor Lawrence's. Then we'll move on to 4. Thing is here, Atlanta have just restructured their deal, haven't they? They restructured their deal with Matt Ryan, so they save even more when they cut him next year. I think this has to be Trey Lance at this stage. I don't think there's any real question that it should be Trey Lance. Could they go edge? Yes. Could they go defense? Yes. But are those players really on the board right now who are worth it? Maybe the Falcons are a little cheap spot to slide back, pick up a few more picks, and give the QB elsewhere. But I don't think so, and I think it's going to be just Trey Lance. As I said there. Now, number 5, pretty easy. You got to protect Joe Barrow. He looks like your franchise guy based on year 1. He looks very much like a very franchise quarterback. He looked very talented until he went out with his ACL. I believe it was ACL in week 12-ish, around that point. No offensive line help really. Not much they've done just to really help that. So I guess you just sort of this pick's gonna stay the same. You can always go Rashawn Slater, but the upside is pretty much too good for Penei Sewell to be turned down. Eagles. Now this is where you sort of sat there. Eagles number 6. What are they going to do? There's a few talks of them bringing back Nick Foles from Chicago to back up as like back up Jalen Hurts, but yeah, pretty much that's pretty much it. I think they go Kyle Pitts. They don't really need a tight end, but as everybody knows, Kyle Pitts is a versatile weapon. He's not just a tight end. He is a wide receiver. He is whatever you want Kyle Pitts to be. He's an unbelievable target. He is one of the best prospects in this draft. Eagles, if they're gonna give Jalen Hurts a fair shot at the starting job, you need to give him some weapons, and I believe Kyle Pitts is the best weapon you can give him at this stage in the draft. Down to number 7, easy pick for me, Jaylen Waddle. You lost Kenny Golladay to New York during free agency. You need some wide receiver help. Jaylen Waddle, a few people's number 1 in this class, a few people's number 2, a few people's number 3. I like Jaylen Waddle. His explosive speed, despite his explosive speed, still a very talented route runner. And I think it's an easy pick there for him. And down to number 8, Justin Fields. Carolina need a QB. They're done with Teddy Bridgewater. They're done with Teddy Bridgewater in here. Pardon me, I'm about to burp. They're done with Teddy Bridgewater. They don't... He is that bridge quarterback they wanted, and they've got it. Justin Fields, I don't know what you do with him. Depends if somebody comes calling for Teddy Bridgewater, I guess. I'd give Justin Fields like 3 or 4 weeks sat behind somebody, then get him going, I guess. But yeah, on to number 9, secondary help needed for the Broncos. They would go QB. They could very easily trade up for a quarterback during this draft. I think the Patriots, the Niners, Washington, Chicago, maybe the Steelers, you could all argue have the possibility of trading up. But obviously Broncos kept what's his name? Justin Simmons in free agency as well, which was big on the franchise tag though, while they try and work out a deal. But yeah, pretty simple. Secondary help is going to be pretty simple for the Cowboys as well. They did retain Dak Prescott, which thank God that story's finally over. You got Dak Prescott retained, and then you got Dak Prescott retained. You lost a couple people. I don't remember them distinctly making many big signings, as far as I remember, especially defensively. They don't really have the money to. They don't really have the money to pay people. They've just paid. I don't know why that's happened. They've just paid a ridiculous amount for. They've just paid a ridiculous amount for Dak Prescott. And the defense at every point is going to need help because they were in shootouts constantly last year. So Kellen Farley seems like a pretty simple choice. Pretty much number 2 in the draft here. Now you move on to the Giants. Giants are in a tough spot. Edge, bit of an issue. Receiver doesn't seem as much like an issue, but maybe you could go Devontae Smith for sort of future developments and give Daniel Jones a couple targets instead of just Kenny Golladay. Or you can go edge with Azeez Ojulari, who's pretty much by far the best edge in the class. You could even go offensive line. Offensive line's a bit of an issue for them. I think corner, I don't want to say if a cornerback falls, because I don't think a cornerback will fall. But I think J.C. Horn is definitely a possibility here. I don't think they will. Micah Parsons, possibility, but I think he's going to slide due to those relationship concerns. This is a tough spot. I don't know. Giants do need edge help, but Rashawn Slater is a very talented offensive tackle. He's sat here. I really don't know. Jeremiah Owusu Cornwell is a possibility. Very talented. Michael Parsons, he's not as hyped up as everybody's making him, but he's still a very talented football player. Interior offensive line as well. They've got a lot of problems. Considering how close they were to the playoffs, they've still got a few problems. I'm going to go Azeez Ojulari. Talented edge, pretty much by far the best edge in the class. Unless maybe you want to look at Gregory Rousseau, but he's just too raw to really say he's the best coming out of day one. So on to number 12. I believe the 49ers paid big bucks for Trent Williams. I don't think offensive tackle is an area they're going to need to look at. They paid big bucks for Trent Williams. I cannot remember if they retained Richard Sherman. Hang on. Just bear with me 1 second. If they still don't have the best offensive line, you need to get some help. Manuel Mosley, Josh Rosen, they're all resigned. You could go wide receiver. I think Devontae Smith is sat here. Very talented receiver. Amazing separator. I think you go Devontae Smith. Get Dewey G some help. Offensive tackle, this is a no-brainer for the Chargers in Rashawn Slater. This could be a trade back spot in real life, but I'm not doing trades, so we're just going to go interior offensive line and go Elijah Vera-Tucker. Very talented, best interior offensive lineman by far, has that sort of guard tackle flexibility. Rashawn Slater is probably the best day one starter, you could say. He didn't quite have a ceiling. Oh my god, I can't remember his name. Why can I not remember his name? Shut up. Penei Sewell, that's the one. He doesn't quite have the ceiling Penei Sewell does. And Elijah Vera-Tucker's got that sort of flexibility. Patriots done a lot. They've brought in weapons for Cam Newton's second year, so I don't think a weapon is what they really need. This could always be, again, a trade back spot if they don't trade it up and they could go running back and pick up some late picks. Linebacker is a bit of an issue. Wide receiver, not much of an issue. Cornerback, because Stephon Gilmore's not gone yet and J.C. Jackson is obviously still there, I'm not going to go either of them. Safety is too early. Interior defensive line, I think it could be a Micah Parsons, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah sort of spot for the Patriots. Unless they do want to take Mac Jones. I don't think... No, I'm going to hold out. Mac Jones, I don't think is going to go there. We could always go offensive line as well. It's not... JC Horn. But again, we're going off the fact stuff. I personally think Stephon Gilmore is going to go. So I think we're going to go JC Horn. Very good boundary guy. No, I don't know what to do with this pick. No, we're going to take... Micah Parsons is going to fall because of these... I don't want to call them quality concerns, but we'll go headspace concerns. I really don't know. Do I want to go defense or do I want to go... I don't think offense is... Do they still lack receiving help? Yes. Is there really a receiver on the board they want to take at this spot? Probably not. Defensively, they need help. I'm going to go Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, extremely versatile, could be like a slightly worse Isaiah Simmons, which isn't a nice thing to say at this point, but I think Micah Parsons could become the guy the Cardinals hope Isaiah Simmons becomes in the future. Can play in the box, can play safety, can play pretty much wherever you want him to. Cardinals lost Patrick Peterson. This is a pretty easy pick. JC Horn's still on the board. Lost Patrick Peterson. The secondary needed help even with Patrick Peterson, so seems like a pretty no-brainer. The Raiders, This has to be offensive tackle. It could be Christian Darris or Tevin Jenkins. We're going to go Tevin Jenkins. Raiders obviously traded away a ton of their offensive line. Their offensive line is a scrap compared to what it used to be. So, you sort of got to just leave it as it is and try and repair that damage that you've done to there. Dolphins, I'm going to have to take Najee Harris. I think is the best running back in the class. Sort of gets that. With teams, it's going to be, with the Dolphins, it's going to be, do they want that home run hitting speed of Travis Etienne, or do they want 4 or 5 yards per carry Najee Harris? It's a toss up between what you prefer. Washington football team have found themselves very lucky here. Mac Jones has fallen straight into their laps. He can help be managed by Fitzpatrick. Bears are ruining the chance that I've not given them to trade up, because they've got the red arrow to bloody play for them. So they need offensive tackle help again. They need a few. They've still got Allen Robinson though on the franchise tag. I think we'll go Christian Harrison here. Need offensive line help. Colts, I think that's going to be another offensive tackle in Samuel Cosme. They could do a cornerback as well. Greg Newsome's very much a possibility. Colts did have the tackle retire as well. So this isn't simple. It's a toss-up between, do you want Greg Newsome or Samuel Cosme? I think I'm going to take Samuel Cosme because their defense is balling anyway. I think they'll be fine. Titans, originally I would have gone edge, right? Did make a couple signings in free agency. Now they're sort of, they lost a few, they lost a corner or two as well in free agency. They brought in Bud Dupree. So I think it could be, it's a tough one. They could very much go. They obviously lost Corey Davis as well. And they lost Desmond King, didn't they? So I think corner has to be the spot. No matter how desperately you need edge, you've brought in Bud Dupree, and you do need edge. Slightly less desperately now, but you didn't have a corner to replace Desmond King in. So we'll go that. Jets, I don't want to say they definitely haven't fixed their wide receiving core. Obviously brought in Corey Davis, D.D. Westbrook. Not D.D. Was it D.D. Westbrook? No, it was Keelan Cole, wasn't it? Was it Keelan Cole or D.D. Westbrook? I cannot remember for the life of me. Let me just double check. I'm sure it was Keelan Cole. Yeah, it was Keelan Cole they brought in. So that's sort of less of an issue. They've sort of not mended again, but edge rush, they may possibly, but I don't think that's where they'll go with this pick. Again, corner is an issue. I'm just making this up on the fly. Eric Stokes, very good boundary guy. I do like Eric Stokes. Is he the guy though? It's a bit of reach. And they do pick early on. They do pick early on in the second, but I'm going to give them Eric Stokes. Cornerback, they need some help in that secondary. I think it's not an easy decision, but there's a lot they need. Steelers retained, what's his name, Juju Smith-Schuster, for them, which I don't know if it's lucky or not. He's an up and down guy. I don't really know if it's good or not they brought him back. They do really need cornerback, but again, we've literally just had Eric Stokes go off the board. And unless they want to reach for somebody like Aaron Robinson or Elijah Molden, who I didn't mind. Sean Wade. I've watched a few of his tapes. I like Sean Wade out of Ohio State. Would he go? I'm going to go Sean Wade, I think. Sean Wade, I liked him out of Ohio State. He's kind of been slept on, but, you know, they needed some sort of corner help. They needed a lot of help everywhere. This could also be... That could have been a Rashad Bateman sort of area, but they need quite a bit offensive line as well. We could go offensive line. Here we're gonna go. I don't think this will happen, but because I want Trayvon Moehrig to the Jags. If you look at all these successful teams, the Chiefs with Tyrann Mathieu. I've named just one. God's sake. But Tyrann Mathieu is sort of... Tyrann Mathieu... Trayvon Moehrig really sort of reminds me of Tyrann Mathieu. He's just everywhere, making tackles everywhere, breaking up plays. He looks like a superb safety. And our best safety is Andrew Wingard. No offense to the man. I'm sure he's delightful, but he's not the guy. Edge, this is pretty simple to me. Kwity Paye. I mean, they could always go Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, but you know, Ravens have missed out on a few wide receivers, so that's still a possibility. They do need edge, and I think Jalen Phillips is the guy. And then we'll move on to the Saints, who are kind of in a spot where they need a few things. And I think they'll just really go best defensive player available, which at this point is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. So I'm willing to make that change. Packers kept hold of Aaron Jones in free agency, so don't need to look at their running back. They could do with a bit more defensive help. Again, trying to stop the run. Nick Bolton could definitely be a possibility here, and you know what? I think that's going to be my pick, Nick Bolton. Missouri. Buffalo, edge. I'm sure they've been known to sort of develop players. Josh Allen. For one, I'm going to give him Gregory Rousseau. Very raw. I wouldn't start him in his first year, but could become a major talent in the NFL if he's brought up right, and I think the Bills could do that. Chiefs offensive line help, but do they need that? They could go Jalen Mayfield very easily. Not really lost much. They lost both their tackles in free agency. They don't need a running back. It has to be an offensive lineman here, really. I'm going to go Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. And the Bucks can do whatever they want. I'm going to go Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne, home run hitter. And I've gone Travis Etienne because the Bucks are in a position where it's best player available. They don't really need to strengthen in any... They do some little areas, but it's not major strengthening is needed. They could lose Leonard Fournette in free agency. I don't think they've been able to retain him, so... I think that is going to be... I think that is my mock draft. Travis Etienne, again, I've explained, just